Hey vlog, good morning. Day 80 is here with us. My day 80 of my 165 days of my 2026 just begun as I just woke up. It's currently 9:12 in the AM. And I'm just here to please urge you to subscribe, like, and comment. Today, let's comment the flag of Djibouti. Yeah, I put it over here. And before all the stories, because I'll be putting this on my shorts, please do consider checking out my channel where I archive my day-to-day days of my 2026. I vlog every day of my 2026 days just to see how my days and my life unfolds. And so I've taken up this job. This is actually a full-time job that I've given myself to document how my days in my 2026 unfold. So if you're just bored at home or at work, you can please consider subscribing, liking, and watching my vlogs. Yeah. I also do what? I also try to encourage you as I encourage myself to always clock in and lock in intentionally so that by the end of the year, we may be happy about the choices that we've made of keeping it clocking in and actually locking in and putting in the work intentionally. And this will make you happy at the end of the year because of the outcomes and also years to come. Yeah, so if you'd love watching that, I'm a Kenyan girl who vlogs her days every day, and that rooster, whenever it hears me talk, it must make noise. Anyway, yeah, I was saying that I'm a Kenyan lady who vlogs her days and see how her life pans out. Yeah, so I think you'd enjoy my videos. I mean, if you're bored, then I think you would enjoy. Yeah, so yeah, please do consider subscribing, liking, and commenting the flags that I think of here daily. Yeah, so I hope your day 80 will be kind to you. And I hope you'll have a restful one while at it. I hope you'll have some time with your loved ones, your family, your children. Tell your children that you love them, hug them. Children grow up within the blink of an eye. By the time you're opening your eyes, they're already out of your house. They're already grown. So yeah, tell them you love them, encourage them. Tell them the importance of clocking in and locking in intentionally, so that by the time they're getting out of your house, they will be happy with the hard work that they put in, they set in school, in everything that they did. Yeah. So I wish to wish you a beautiful Saturday ahead, a restful Saturday, a Saturday where you get to spend it with your loved ones, and a Saturday where you also experience God's love, mercy, grace. Yeah, as you reset and organize yourself for the week that is coming. Yeah, I'll meet you back here as I'm reading the book and as I'm clocking out. But until then, please do have yourselves a beautiful and restful and blessed Saturday ahead. Good evening. The 80 is over. My day 80 of my 365 days of my 2026 is over. It's currently dark. The sun has set already. It's currently 18:34, 6:34 in the PM, and so it's time for me to clock out. I hope you had a good day. I hope your day 80 has been kind to you, has been good to you. I hope you've had a restful day, a chill day, a day where you spent with your loved ones, your family, your children, yeah, your parents, your grandparents, name it. A day where you remember to smile, a day where you had your hot chocolate because it's been kind of cold. Although it hasn't rained today, but it's been somewhat cold. The sun was out, but not really out. I love how the sun is like that, not really hot and not really cold, but towards the end of the day, it's been quite chilly. However, I hope you've kept warm. I hope you remember to bask. You took an opportunity and basked outside before we are back into the offices. And I also hope you had time to pray, to thank God, to ask God, to request God to answer your prayers and give you whatever you anticipate, because God says, ask and you shall receive. And trust me, God God does what he says. His word is true. God is not like man that lie. No, God is a true God whose word is good and truthful. Yes, that was the word I was looking for. So in everything that you do, please always remember God, even as hard as it might be. Remember God. So yeah, my day has been good. At least I uploaded quite a number of vlogs from vlog day, I think 72 to 79. I've had a backlog of vlogs because the last days have been hectic. I've been up and about due to this court case, but I'm praying and I'm really pleading with God that it turns out positive and that the person in remand gets out of remand on Tuesday, because the next hearing is on Tuesday, which is the 24th of March 2026. And so I'm really praying that he gets out of remand on cash bail, and so that the case can go on while he's out there, because the conditions in remand are terrible, as I hear. So I'm just really praying and pleading with God that we get the money. And it's not that I do not have the money to bail that individual out, but if I had the money, without a doubt, I would definitely bail him out, because I wouldn't want him to, as much as the mistake is his, I wouldn't want him to suffer, or his mind gets corrupted in remand, or traumatized. But all in all, what we're saying is that how we're consoling ourselves and saying is that probably God, and not even probably, all this has a reason, because probably he needed to go to remand so that he can learn and see how the conditions are in remand, and so that he cannot repeat whatever he did again. Yeah. So guys, let's be good. Let's avoid the law. Let's avoid being on the wrong side of the law, because the law, as I said, does not know what a smile is. The law does not smile at you. Once you cross its boundary, hey, it's done with you. It's you now in court cases and all that, draining of your energy, time, and resources. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So let's be good. Let's be good. It's better being good, yeah, and better putting our best foot forward and enjoying the fruits of our intentional labor, yeah. And so that is how my day has been. I just uploaded vlogs. I rested. I basked in the lime trees. I ate. Nothing much really. I feel like calling it boring, but it's boring. But it's life. Life is repetitive, but. I thank God all in all that I'm alive. He's blessed me with life, with food, with family, and I hope that things will get better with time. It's just that I need to put my best foot forward, always put my best foot forward, and that he will always meet me and you at a bit of need, yeah. So please consider subscribing, liking, and commenting. Today we were commenting the flag of Djibouti, and so I hope you enjoy my vlogs, how my day pan out, how I go about my days and archive them on here so that I can look back on and probably maybe touch a soul or two while at it. Yeah. So allow me to love you and leave you until day 81, guys. We're doing day 81. Q1 is almost coming to an end. So I will always be here to urge us to clock in and lock in, stay locked in, focused, so that by the time the year is coming to an end, we may be happy with all the effort that we've put in ourselves and everyone around us. Yeah. So I wish to end it here. Today we are also going to continue reading the book. Yeah, the book is interesting, and it's also a way of relaxing and getting a different perspective from someone else who chose in her life to always clock in and stay locked in, focused. And now she's living the time of her life, because she invested her time strategically and intentionally. And that is why I'm here to always remind you and remind ourselves the importance of always clocking in and locking in, focused. That is the mantra of the year. That is my mantra of the year. Clocking in and locking in intentionally, so that by the end of the year we may be happy with the intentional work that we put in, yeah. And so I'll see you while I'm reading the book, but until then, continue having yourselves a restful weekend ahead, a warm weekend, eat nutritious food, nourish your body, your soul, and may the Lord Almighty Jesus Christ bless you while you are at it. See you while I'm reading the book, and also see you in day 81, God willing. Hey vlog, so it's time to read the book. It's currently 19:53, 7:53 in the PM, and so we'll start by setting the timer, the 30 minutes timer. Before that, let me just fix the microphone. It's not working. So it's better here. Also, the timer begins. So we were at page 150. So the last sentence was, she taught me that every time they knock you down, you should jump up smiling, as if to say that, oh, that was nothing. I went back to Florida after I lost. I had a few weeks to improve before the start of the US hard court tournaments. I spent them working out at the academy, putting in more hours, trying to keep the sharp edge keen for the tournaments. And it was then, after all that time, that I first faced off against Serena Williams. It was like, yes, finally. It felt as if I'd been circling around her for years. I've been hearing about Venus and Serena Williams from my father since I was 6 or 7 years old. I'd seen them through the not all of the film shack at Bollettieri's when I was 12. I'd seen Serena in a gown from my seat at the junior table at the Wimbledon ball when I was 14. Now I was seeing her the only way and from the only perspective that really matters, from across the net of a tennis court. It was the Miami Open, April 2004. I got out there first, as the lower-ranked players do, stood around and observed. Then Serena came out. Nothing prepares you for the presence she has on court. A few years ago, my friend Chelsea Handler flew in to watch me play at the London Olympics. She doesn't follow tennis and much preferred her PIMS cap to anything that might happen on the courts. But when Serena comes out to play our gold medal match and she's 100% Serena, Chelsea looks her over, turns to my coach and says, "What's your game plan there?" And that's exactly how I felt when I got onto the court with Serena for the first time. What's my game plan here? First of all, her physical presence is much stronger and bigger than you realize watching TV. She has thick arms and thick legs and is so intimidating and strong and tall, really tall. I looked across the net and no way to get around it. She was just there. More there than other players, if that makes sense. It's the whole thing, her presence, her confidence, her personality. She seemed much older than me in Miami. This was just before I turned 17. She was a grown woman, experienced, the best player in the world. It still feels that way. Even now, she can make me feel like a little girl. As soon as you start playing, you realize it's a confidence you have to deal with. You need to dent it if you are to have any shot at winning. Yes, there is the serve and the ground strokes and the game, but it's also her attitude that defeats you. She looks across the net with something like disdain, as if you are unimportant and small. It's a game face, of course, but it works. I'd met my match in intimidation. Then there is her temper, which can be hotter and unpredictable. She's not afraid to scream, throw her racket, bitch at the refs about calls she doesn't like. It's interesting at first, then it gets irritating. Irritating in a way that might be intended. It lets her blow off steam and fills most opponents with rage. She behaves as if she's the only player out there and the only person who counts. And you are a speed bump. You are a zero. Many great players have this mentality. Serena Williams just has it more. The best way to deal with people like this, I've learned from experience, is with composure, a maddening composure, and a stately calm. It drives them batshit crazy. Serena won that match, but I realized that if I kept working, I'd get close to her level. Maybe I also put some doubt in her mind. I'm reading. Maybe I also put some doubt in her mind. There were stretches when I felt like I could handle her depth, power, and speed. A spectator new on the scene would have had trouble on some of those points, telling the champion from the rookie. For me, it was like facing a fear. That's the thing about champions. They rely to some extent on your fear of them. It's a bubble that protects them. When that is pierced, anything is possible. I left for Europe a few days later. I wanted to train and acclimate myself to play before the European season began. IMG arranged for me to take up a kind of short-term residence at the Juan Carlos Ferrero Academy in Villena, Spain. There were a couple of other pro players staying in the cabanas and playing in the courts, including the namesake of the academy, a local hero named Juan Carlos Ferrero. In those few weeks, watching Ferrero train, watching him come and go, seeing how he talked and handled himself, how he brushed his hair away from his eyes, I developed a serious crush. Ferrero, retired now, in his late 30s, was lanky, not too tall, with tousled hair, dark but dyed blonde, and warm, mischievous eyes. He'd been playing tennis since he was too young to know if he wanted to play like the rest of us, but something about him seemed removed, above, calm, and cool. He'd won the French Open the previous season, 2003. The picture taken of him after the last point stuck in my head. It was an image of accomplishment, joy, and release. When you win, you finally go to let go of all that tension and stress. That's what it looked like. You finally get to live in the moment instead of in the moment after this moment when the next shot still has to be returned. I must have seen the picture in the newspaper, on some front page, or tossed behind a seat on some airplane. Ferrero had just won the match. The ball is probably still moving just beyond the frame, rolling lazily towards the vanquished player, Martin Vakak. Juan Carlos had fallen to his knees and is looking toward the sky as if to thank whoever up there is in charge of tennis Grand Slams. It stayed with me that... Mamaliza. Endelea kutumia. Bado zimeisha? Okay. It stayed with me, that celebration. I always mimicked the gestures of the people I admire.
I don't mean to. It just happens. Maybe it's a way of saying thanks. In 2004, Ferrero was 23 and I was 16. I mean, in most countries, that's not even legal. What can I say? The heart wants what it wants. The heart wants what the heart wants. I used to monitor him, watch him come and go. I used to plot and plan. I'd stand at the window of my cabana, behind a closed curtain, picking out, keeping track of his every move. Here was the big problem. Juan Carlos had a girlfriend. She was probably the nicest girl in the world, but how could I see her as anything other than the reality that undermined my dreams? When they stood together, all cute, I was reminded that I was the silliest thing in the world, a kid with a crush. Yuri knew none of this. Of course, when I actually got a chance to talk to Ferrero, I was polite and goofy and shy, but he must have known. I later found out that everyone in that Spanish academy, in fact, did know. I guess I'd been following him around like a lost puppy. I appreciate how he handled himself, the gentle and serious way he treated me, never making me feel anything less than grown up and important, while also letting me know in his easy way that it could never happen. There was a number of small tournaments that spring, played to build up our confidence, timing, and endurance. It's all a prelude to the French Open, like an overture. You arrive in Paris in May, best time of the year in the city. The grounds of the arena, Roland Garros, are a kind of dream. The intimate stadium of Center Court, the colorful green banners that encircle the arena contrasting with the red clay, the crowds. I came in as the 19th seed. The top spots were occupied. Number 1, Justin Henin, and number 2, Serena Williams. Henin had just won the French Open the previous year. She was one of the best clay court players of all time, if not the best. It felt like there wasn't a ball she wasn't capable of getting back, especially on clay. She would drive me crazy, the way she kept sending every perfect shot I made back over the net with precision. Henin did not have height or power, but none of that mattered here. The French Open does not favor power the way the US Open and even Wimbledon do. In Paris, it's all about fitness and finesse. On a dry day, the red clay is hard and cool. The game is fast then, and power can be a factor, but if there is the slightest drizzle or humidity, the clay absorbs the moisture and then everything gets boggy and slow. The surface turns to soap and the points wind down and the clay holds up even the flattest, hardest stroke. Playing in those conditions is a question of persistence and experience. The pros who grew up on this surface feel its rhythm and know when to stop and slide, when to skid into a ball, how to skid into a ball. They excel when it rains or has rained or will rain, which is usually the case at least once in the course of a tournament. The French Open has a way of doing even great players. Jimmy Connors, John McEnroe, Martina Hingis, Venus Williams, none of them have won the French Open. I beat Barbara Schwartz in straight sets in the first round, dropping just 3 games. She was an Austrian who had this one-handed left-handed backhand that was never fun to play against. Second round, straight sets again, this time over the Italian Rita Grande. I lost just 2 games. All the work I had done in the academy in Spain was paying off. I felt stronger on this surface than I'd even felt before. The third round was a little more difficult. I faced another Russian, Vera Zvonareva, in this round. I might have won that match in straight sets, but something about her game made me uneasy and comfortable, as if we might always finish the match deep in the third set. It was straight sets again in the 4th round, this time over the German Marlene Weingtner, known mostly for her stunning match with Jennifer Capriati in the 2003 Australian Open. She'd been down 6-4, 4-1, and somehow she came back to win. That was her moment. Just like that, I had reached the quarterfinals, my first time in a Grand Slam, where I'd play Paola Suarez, a smart, tough Argentinian who won on the tour for years and years. Suarez was 5'7", meaning I towered over her, but as I said, on clay. Max had turned up in Paris by that time. There was a lot of excitement at IMG. It seemed like maybe, just maybe, this might be my year to make it far in the Grand Slams, to move up in the rankings. I was 17 and just 2 matches stood between me and my first Grand Slam final, and all the top seeds, Serena Williams and Amelie Mauresmo. Lindsay Davenport and Vanessa Williams had been eliminated. That's clay. For a moment, it seemed like I had a great chance. Max sat with my father in the hotel bar the night before the match. Max said, "Tell me the truth, Yuri. Can Maria actually win this match tomorrow?" Yuri sighed and shrugged. He wanted to lower Max's expectations. My father believes that overly high expectations are just as dangerous as fast living. If you wake up in the morning, said Yuri, and there is not a cloud in the sky, then maybe, just maybe, we have a chance. Suarez was much more experienced than me. When it rains, the clay becomes slower, so you need more strength to really make the ball fly. I needed the clay to play as fast as possible. That was my only chance. So the next morning, game day, I woke up at 5 to pee, and on my way back to bed, I pushed open the curtain for a peek. And what do you think was going on out there? It was like a hurricane. The sky still wool grey, and the rain lashing down sideways. I lost in straight sets, 6-1, 6-3. I was dejected but not crushed. It helps to have an excuse. In this case, it was the weather, not me. It was the sky. There's an upside to losing in the quarterfinals. It means at least you don't have to stick around. It means you don't have to put off the healing balm of retail therapy. After a trip up and down the boulevards with my quarterfinals prize money in my pocket, we headed to England. That's the thing about the tour. No matter how bad you feel, there's always another tournament, another chance to fix yourself, another shot at redemption. You close the page, you open the page. You empty your mind, you fill your mind. We went straight to Birmingham, an industrial city in the Midlands. The Birmingham tournament was a tune-up for Wimbledon. It always felt so good to get off the clay and onto the grass. It was a relief to have that pace back. I remember at my first practice in Birmingham, taking a slow jog around the courts, just delaying the moment when I finally went out onto the grass, which was soft and so green. I remember just standing there, breathing it all in, back on grass. God, it felt good, so much better than that on clay. It was not like that monsoon in Paris, where it felt like my feet were glued on the ground. I cruised through the Birmingham Classic, won the whole thing in what felt like 2 games. This is when it started to happen for me. I hung out with another tennis player between matches, back at the hotel or in the city. She was the closest thing I had to a friend on the tour, a Russian girl named Maria Kirilenko. She was my age and grew up in a slightly friendlier version of the world I'd come from. We'd hang out when we could, go to dinner after the matches, shop together, talk. It was with her, back in our junior days, under her bad influence, I stole the only thing I've ever stolen in my life, shoplifting on a dare. It was peer pressure. You want it? Take it. Don't be a chicken, Maria. Are you really that scared? Come on. It was a small round jar of Nivea body lotion. I slipped it into my coat and brought it back to the hotel, but never could bring myself to use it. It stood with my toothbrush and lip balm in a kind of rebuke. It made me feel ashamed. I threw it away 2 days later. I watched the final of the French Open with Kirilenko that year on the TV in a hotel room in Birmingham. We had both been playing well, so it was as if we were scouting, comparing. It was an all-Russian final in Paris. Anastasia Miskina against Elena Dementieva. Miskina won easily, straight sets, but I did not care about any of that, not really. I cared only that one of these girls would become the first Russian woman to win a Grand Slam. I didn't like the sound of that or how it made me feel. I wanted it to be me. We got to Wimbledon at the beginning of June, a week before the first games of the 2004 tournament. The idea is to become acclimated, convince your body that you are a local, that there is nothing special about this place and these games, that it's all part of your routine. Of course, there was no denying the specialness of that town and how good I felt whenever I was there. The main street lined with boutiques and cafes, the pastry shops, and afternoon teas, the crowds, the wide tree shaded roads at the start of summer. Once again, it was perfect. We had been booked into a house outside the village, but it did not feel right. The mood of the place was off. The feng shui or whatever. It just felt wrong. I called Max and complained. When you start to win, these are the kind of calls you get to make. I said, please, Max, find us a new place. And he did, quickly booking us into a kind of bed and breakfast a half-mile from the practice court. It was a huge old house, at all dormers and overhangs. There was a big, beautiful lawn and big windows in big rooms and a big front porch. I just loved it. That house was absolutely part of my success at Wimbledon, part of the recipe. It put me in the right frame of mind. We had the entire third floor to ourselves. It was owned by a nice couple with 3 kids. The youngest was 2. Having a 2-year-old around when you play a big match is great because the 2-year-old is interested but does not really care, and that happy not caring reminds you, in the end, all of this is nothing. There are champions now. In 10 years, there will be different champions. It's fleeting, so have fun. That's what you get from a 2-year-old. It's a mindset that gets you playing loose and easy. When you go out there caring but not caring too much, you become truly dangerous, even if you are only 17. I quickly fell into a routine. Each morning, I had breakfast with my father upstairs on the third floor, oatmeal, or maybe just a boiled egg and some strawberries. My father would talk to me about my serve and my return, or who I might play, or where my head should be, or what I needed to do. One of the kids had a great habit of undoing all this strategy by asking silly kid questions, like what's the difference between skinny milk and skinny people, or will it rain and what will that mean for the mud pie situation? After breakfast, I'd sit on the front porch, watching the entire world go by, thinking or not thinking, then grabbing my gear and head to the Aorangi practice courts, which were part of the Wimbledon facility. Sometimes my coach met me and we worked together. At this point, I was known in the world of tennis, but nowhere else. I was not a celebrity, horrible word, meaning I could go where I wanted, when I wanted, without fuss or hustle. I would stretch on the courts, run a few laps, then start hitting. I worked on each phase of my game at practice, one at a time. Forehands, backhands, first serve, second serve, spending extra time on whatever might need special attention, as some part of my game always does. It's like building a sandcastle. As soon as this part seems solid, that part starts to crumble. I usually end up by simulating specific scenarios. Down a break, second set, second serve, deuce, first set, you must break her serve, and so on. I'd finish my practice with out-of-the-basket drills, just like I did with Robert. I usually had my coach feed me balls one after another, 10 minutes of nothing but hitting, so I could close out on a groove. That's still how I do it to this day. One day, on my way to practice, I stepped on something. I did not know what it was, only that there was a strange squish, then an extra something on my shoe that felt wrong. When I got to the clubhouse, I noticed the smell, this terrible, terrible smell. A bowels of health kind of smell. I looked accusingly at the other players in the room before coming to a terrible realization. I bent my leg and looked at the bottom of my shoe. The threads were packed with what I assumed to be the richest, blackest, most pungent dog shit that the world has ever known. I cursed under my under my breath. So that's clearly what we were dealing with. I thought the most powerful animal contaminant, Koji shit. There's a kind of locker room attendant in Wimbledon. She sits in the locker room ready to help you with your stuff. She'll wash or stitch your clothes, whatever. I felt bad doing it, but brought her my shoes anyway. I stepped in dog shit and I'm not really sure what to do. I told her, I need this pair. Do you have a horse or something? No problem, she said. At Wimbledon, it happens with great frequency. I went to my locker and started to change for practice, digging around for a spare pair of sneakers. As I stepped out of the locker room, this old guy came up to me, a maintenance attendant. He was missing a few teeth, prominent ones, but was smiling anyway. He spoke in some sort of brogue. He said, Hey there, Maria. I heard you stepped in it out on the lawns. Yes, I said, groaning. I stepped in dog shit. This isn't dog shit, he said. I gave it a good look over. It's fox shit. Oh my god, I said, that's awful. No, he said, laughing. The opposite. It's wonderful. Stepping in fox shit is the best kind of good luck, the best. It probably means you're going to win the whole thing. That was the first hint I had that this Wimbledon was going to be different. The week leading up to the first match was long and easy. You want to go into the big tournament with a calm mind, and hours of doing nothing or reading or just hanging around with your working family are a big part of that. In other words, as hard as I practice, I have learned that doing nothing is just as important as doing everything. We ate at the same Thai place almost every night. It's where we'd gone the night after I upset Jelena Dokik the previous year, so it became more good luck for us. There is no one more superstitious than there is no one more superstitious than an athlete on a winning streak. It got so we did not even have to look at the menu. We could order by number. For me, it was always 8 and 47, spring rolls and sizzling beef with onions, and a side of 87, fried rice. I spent almost every moment of that week with my team, my father, my trainer, Mark Wellington, and my coach, Mauricio Haddad. It was Maria and the men. We got so loose and easy, we began playing games and making bets. That's what you make when you know your side has no realistic chance of winning. There was, for example, what I called the bald bet. Time is over. So let's finish this page and then you can call it a read. It's raining, cats and dogs and the descendants and the ascendants, ancestors and rats. Anyway, so where were we? It was Maria and the men. We got so loose and easy, we began playing games and making bets. That's what you make when you know your side has no realistic chance of winning. There was, for example, what I call the bad bet. We were walking to practice courts one day, and out of nowhere I said, okay, we have to make a deal. If I win, you guys have to shave your heads. At first, they were like, no way. Then my trainer said, okay, but if you don't win, I interrupted him before he could even get going. I said, no, that's not fair. You know I'm not going to win. Then we continued on in silence thinking. Finally, my coach said, you know what, Maria? If you win this tournament, if you win Wimbledon, we'll shave everything, even... Now, you know what? Everyone agreed. Then we forgot all about it, but I didn't. Then they forgot all about it, but I didn't. I was 17 years old. I'd grown up in tennis, become an adult on the professional tour. I was at the start of my life, but I felt like I was 100 years old. So much had happened to me already. There had already been so many adventures, crises, ups and downs, reversals of fortune. I had already played so much tennis, hit so many balls, been to so many towns and cities. It's why a tennis player at 29 can seem like the oldest person in the world. So we'll stop there and resume tomorrow at page 162. That was a very good read. Resilient Maria, she was unstoppable indeed. So this is the read you've been reading, Unstoppable, My Life So Far by Maria Sharapova. Such a good read, and I will definitely recommend it to anyone who has a resilient spirit. Yeah? And it also actually really lines up with the mantra or the theme of me vlogging every day of my 365 days of 2026, actually clocking in and locking in intentionally, so that by the end of whatever you're working on or whatever you're putting your effort on intentionally, you may be happy with the outcomes at the end of it all. So yeah, Maria is quite inspirational, and I have nothing but good things to preach about her journey. Yeah? It's quite inspiring, and I hope you're also getting inspired, and I hope you'll subscribe to my channel, to my archiving channel, so that we may be together in this clocking in and locking in journey intentionally, so that by the end of the year and by the end of whatever you're trying to do, you may be happy about the decision you made to actually clock in and lock in intentionally. So I'll stop there. It's currently 8:29 in the PM. So I just want to have my supper right now and then call it a day, and then drift off to slumberland until day 81, God willing. So I wish you nothing but a beautiful night ahead. It's currently raining. May you enjoy the rain. May you sleep like a baby. May the rain soothe you, and I hope even as it's raining, you're safe. Probably the people outside, I hope you're safe, and I hope that floods do not come your way. I hope that floods do not afflict you. So that's all I have to say. Consider to subscribe, like, and comment, and I'll meet you back here tomorrow, God willing, and may the Lord Almighty bless you, and may you find favor in the eyes of the Lord Almighty Jesus Christ and in the eyes of men. Until then, please be safe and have a beautiful night, day, afternoon ahead. Cheers.